Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. And if you are new, my name is Amanda and I post 1 to 2 new videos every week all about encouragement, mom life, and crafting along with me as I build my small business. So in today's video, I'm going to be making some sourdough cinnamon rolls. I finally have my sourdough starter ready to go. I fed it for about 10-ish days and did the whole removing half, feeding it, removing half, feeding it. And then the last 2 days, I think it was day 8 and 9 or 9 and 10, I'll have to go and double check. As I said, I think in my previous video that I uploaded, you do the same process, but you are feeding it extra. So every 12 hours, you're feeding it another 1 cup of flour or 128 grams of flour and a cup of water every 12 hours, those 2 last days, as opposed to every 24 hours. So my starter, and then after that, if you plan on using your sourdough starter right away for baking, you can leave it out on the counter for a few days and it will be just fine. You just have to feed it, I think every day or every 2 days, just more frequently because it's sitting out at room temperature. However, if you're like me and you're only planning on baking with it every 10 days or every couple weeks, whenever you have the time, you can simply keep it in the fridge and then bring it out once a week to feed it. So I fed it once this week, again, a cup of flour, a cup of water, and then you can keep it in the fridge. Yeah, so the starter is all ready to go. And I was going to do some bread, but I thought, while I was looking through Lisa's site from Farmhouse on Boone, and she has so many good recipes. You guys should go and check out her website. And she has, many sourdough recipes for you to choose from. So I went and just checked them out and I thought sourdough cinnamon rolls sounded really good. So that's what we're going to be making today. So for the sourdough cinnamon rolls, the recipe that I have makes 14 cinnamon rolls because it uses 4 cups of flour that you're actually going to add to the recipe with the starter. I don't have that much flour left. Apparently I didn't prepare very well. And I only have enough for 2 cups of flour to add into the recipe. So I'm just gonna cut the recipe in half and make 7 cinnamon rolls. So if you go to the website and it's all different measurements, that's because she's using the full amount for 14 and I'm just going to do enough for 7. So the very first ingredient that you're going to put in is your starter. She calls for a 1/2 cup. So I'm going to do, of course, a 1/4 cup. And this is what my starter is in. Cute little mason jar with the label. Okay, so I have gone ahead and added my 1/4 cup of starter into the bowl. Next is, she calls for a 1/2 cup of water, so I'm doing, of course, a 1/4 cup. And apparently I measured out a cup worth. Apparently my brain wasn't working earlier, so that's fine. We'll just do enough till it hits down to 3/4. Perfect. Okay, and then the 4 cups of flour, so of course I'm doing 2 cups. Okay, so I have my 2 cups of flour in there. Also, if you're wondering, side note, I may not have fancy pantry organization, clearly, but if you have had a baby that was on formula, you should keep these. These are the Kirkland formula containers, and I kept a lot of the ones from when Rise was a baby, and they make really good pantry organization for like flour and sugar and stuff. So it may not be the most glamorous, but it works really well. Just a side note. So now we are adding in a half a cup. She does a half a cup melted coconut oil. I don't have coconut oil, so I'm just using the oil I have on hand, and a half a cup honey. And then of course I'm doing those in half. So I am doing a 1/4 cup oil. And then I need a spoon. 1/4 cup honey. And then just mix those together until they form a ball. My hands are nice and clean, so I'm going to use my hands for this. Okay, so now that I have made the dough into a ball, you're going to grease a bowl down. So I've just sprayed some Pam spray on this bowl. And then you're going to stick the dough ball inside and then cover it with either beeswax wrap or plastic wrap. I would tightly make sure that you have it all in the ridges around the dough ball so you're not letting any air in. And then it sits in a warm place overnight or up to 24 hours. And we will see you tomorrow for the rest. Hey guys, so it's the next day and I have let my cinnamon roll dough sit for not quite 24 hours. I made it last night around, well, yesterday around, I guess that was around 2 o'clock I was filming this. And it's 11:30 a.m. the next day. So she does say it's fine to just let it sit overnight. It doesn't have to be a full 24 hours. If you can let it sit 24 hours, that's great. But I've let it sit close to that, so it should be ready to go. So we are going to finish off our cinnamon rolls today. So I'll bring you closer here. So I've already, to my dough, I've already added the next ingredients that she calls for, which is 2 eggs, a teaspoon of baking soda, and a teaspoon of baking powder. Of course, Holmes, he's growling because the recycling went out this morning and it's really windy today and it was already picked up. So now our recycling bins are rolling around the yard from the wind and he thinks it's like an animal or something. So every time the recycling bins move, he growls at them. Anyway, good guard dog. Yeah, so of course, because I am doing 7 cinnamon rolls as opposed to the full 14 recipe, I'm gonna cut that in half. So I already went ahead and added that. So I did 1 egg, a half teaspoon of baking soda, and a half teaspoon of baking powder. And then you mix that in your stand mixer if you have one, or you can just do a hand mixer until the dough gets very stretchy and what she calls the Windowpane test. So that's when you're all done mixing for about, she says about 5 minutes, just depending on the speed of your mixer. You take about a golf ball size of dough, stretch it between your fingers and your thumbs, up against a window, much like a window pane. And then if you can stretch it without the dough breaking in between, it should be ready to go. If not, just mix it for a little while longer. So that just means the gluten hasn't developed enough yet and it's still too wet to work with. So I've gone ahead and done that. And then once you have that done in a separate bowl, you're going to mix, I lost my spot. If you're doing the full recipe, it's a half teaspoon of salt, a half cup of butter, and a cup of brown sugar. To melt the butter completely and then mix in the salt, salt and brown sugar. Just whisk that together. And now comes the fun part. So now we're going to roll up the dough until it's about a 1/4 inch of thickness. And of course, before you start rolling, you're just gonna do a light, I did a heavier layer of flour, but that's because I ended up putting a little bit too much flour in my cinnamon roll dough to begin with. So I'm doing a little bit thicker layer of flour on my counter to roll out, to add in some more flour into the actual dough. But you're just going to want to do a very thin layer of flour on your counter and then just begin to roll it out. Okay, so she's not the most beautiful shape of all time, but that's okay because it's gonna get all rolled up anyway. So it's okay, right? It's okay. Okay, so now we're going to take our butter and brown sugar and salt, and we're going to spread it evenly onto this. And then we're going to roll everything up as tightly as possible.
Like a bird on a tree, I'm just sitting here. I got time, it's clear to see. From up here, the world seems small. We can sit together. It's so beautiful, you and me. We meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free. Sometimes you need to go and take a step back to see the truth around you. From a distance you can tell. You and me were meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free. You and me, meant to be.
Okay, so we're gonna let those cinnamon rolls go ahead and cook for about 20 to 25 minutes at 375. You probably saw it in the footage. They're not the most glamorous looking cinnamon rolls. I think mine turned out just too wet, I don't know if I maybe didn't add enough flour, or I think I just maybe didn't mix it long enough in the end and the gluten wasn't together enough and wasn't formed enough yet to be rolled out. Rolling out was definitely a struggle. If you saw, it was very difficult to roll those out. It was like, and it kept like trying to stick to the counter. I eventually got them rolled up, and then when I cut them, they were actually easy to place into the cast iron Dutch oven. And like, I'm sure they'll taste delicious in the end, so it doesn't matter if they look perfectly like a spiral, you know. But yeah, just be warned, make sure you mix it long enough that it's not like a wet dough anymore, because I just think that that's what happened to me. So time will tell at the end of this video if these turned out well. If not, it'll be good for a laugh for you. So hopefully you enjoyed either way. She does make a cream cheese frosting to go on top. I'm not a big fan of cream cheese on cinnamon rolls. I know it's a common thing, but it's not really my cup of tea. So if you're like me, and you want an alternative, just like a regular frosting, find a good one on Pinterest. So I will walk you through the steps of that. You're going to need powdered sugar, butter, vanilla, and whole milk. Okay, so we are going to make the frosting for the cinnamon rolls. So of course I'm going to cut mine in half because again, I'm only making like 7 or 8 cinnamon rolls. So this recipe yields 2 cups worth of frosting. So just keep that in mind. So it calls for 3 cups of powdered sugar. So I cut that in half and did 1.5 cups, and then half a cup of butter. So I am doing 1/4 cup of butter at room temperature. And then next we're adding 2 teaspoons of vanilla, or in half like I am, you're doing 1 teaspoon worth, but I never really measure vanilla. And then some whole milk. It calls for 2 to 3 tablespoons. Or you can do heavy cream, but I only have 3%. So I'm gonna do about 2 tablespoons worth. Because I'm not using heavy cream, I could add a little bit extra to give it some thickness. And then we're just going to whisk that together.
Through the fields of our paths, feelings part our ways, keeping us close but estranged now. Dreams holding us closer, meadows of our youth, 107 days, but recalling it backwards. Our dreams holding us closer. Ooh, we can see so clear. Ooh, we can see so
Okay guys, it is the moment of truth. If these sourdough cinnamon rolls turned out, they look amazing. They're not perfect, but they smell amazing. The simple frosting turned out really, really well. So yeah, let's see. I'm very nervous. I've never made cinnamon rolls before, and obviously I've never made anything with sourdough. So oh, those are really good. Wow, they turned out really, really well. Those are delicious. Yeah, and the frosting is really good. Definitely next time I would, again, as I stated before, I would knead the dough longer so the gluten has a chance to form and the dough is less wet, so that you can make a more proper cinnamon roll dough in its form. This is still really delicious. I just next time would want it to be more, I don't know, more proper, like the dough to be where it should be. But yeah, this is really yummy. I'm glad my sourdough starter turned out really well so I could actually make these. Yeah, so I would highly recommend making this recipe if you are like me and you're new at sourdough and this whole thing. I love to bake, but I haven't even, like, I've baked a lot of things, but I've never done cinnamon rolls before. So this was a first for me in both ways, cinnamon rolls and the starter. And yeah, I'm for my first time, I'm very happy with the result. And we actually, it's funny because I'm filming this the day before we are heading out to BC to visit my husband's family. So now I have a whole load of cinnamon rolls, but someone's coming to stay at our house to look after the cat, so I will leave them for her and she can enjoy them. Yeah, this was really fun. I'm so glad I tried this, and I can't wait to try more things with my sourdough starter when we get back, and I'll film about those. And at some point I'll do an actual sourdough loaf of bread and show you that process as well. But if you did enjoy this video, go ahead and click that like button. That lets me know that you enjoy this type of content and you would like to see more. And as always, you can subscribe and hit that bell notification. That way you don't miss any of my new videos. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.